Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And something is happening that I didn't think was ever going to happen. It's been something that I have advocated for in the past and that I kind of just put away into a corner because I just gave up on it ever being something of possibility. And that is going to be cross-faction play in World of Warcraft, Alliance playing alongside Horde, and what Blizzard's plans are for implementing it moving forward in the game. So this comes with a lot of pros and potentially some consequences as well that I want to talk about in this video. But you can see here in this post that they've made, for years now, many players have questioned whether the rules restricting communication and cooperation between Alliance and Horde need to be so absolute. The faction divide could keep close friends from playing together or cause players to feel that their faction leaves them with far fewer opportunities to pursue their favorite group content, but these downsides have been long justified in order to preserve a central element of the Warcraft universe. It all began with a titled Warcraft Orcs and Humans Right. But to quote a one-time war chief of the Horde, times change. So in this post, they cover the fact that they want to be enabling players to form groups with Horde and Alliance to be able to play in instanced content, and it seems at this time that they are not going to be focused on enabling world content because of just the mechanics of and logistics of actually making it happen. So it seems like their aim is to allow dungeons, raids, and rated PvP. So as somebody who plays in North America, I can say to you and attest to the fact that Alliance's pool of players for rated PvP is dramatically smaller than that of Horde, likely contributed to the fact that popular content creators create kind of this guaranteed player base, right? Content creators aren't going to be kind of coming and going. They're going to be staying there for a while. So wherever the content creators kind of decide to make their foothold, you know that that's going to have some permanence to it. And you can see that on realms, even in TBC Classic, things like Fairlina, wherever the content creators go, that seems to be where the final bastion of these MMORPG communities ends up surviving long term. And right now in North America, most of the popular streamers or content creators have picked Horde, and the opposite is actually true in Europe, I think, where most of them are Alliance, and that's probably because they're more smart in their decision making for competitive meta, because Alliance is a lot better at the moment. But this means you'll be able to pick whichever one that you want. Now, what that might mean is that all we're going to see in Arena, which we kind of already do see, is Orcs, Humans, and Night Elves, but they're going to be on the same team. So if you're able to be a human, then you are likely going to want to play human in competitive PvP. If you are unable to be human but can be orc, you will probably want to be orc. And if you can't be human or orc but can be night elf, you're going to want to be night elf. So this is going to be something like shamans are going to be orcs because they can't be humans or night elves. And then paladins want to be human, and then druids want to be night elf for the Shadowmeld drink mechanic. I'm worried that this might lower the overall diversity of the racials in the game at the moment, because if you're playing on a Horde team, let's say if a shaman is a healer, they want to be orc. That's kind of the pivot hook for the shamans. Your partners then have to pick from the selection of Horde races, which is often things like Tauren or High Mountain Tauren for druids, right? Now that's really not going to be the case. I think as the druids, you're going to be wanting to be night elf. So this may split you and splinter you to Horde and Alliance, which may again lead into some of the consequences. I think there are a lot of pros to this, right? Because that small player pool is going to have access to the rest of the game. This is similar to how cross-realming and BattleNet allowed players to pool from realms that were decaying, from realms that are still alive, and still find groups for content and to play through the end game. That was great and a pro, and this is also going to be a pro of this system. But potential consequence of this initial iteration of it is that it seems like it's only going to be your battle tag friends are going to be able to play cross-faction. So your guilds and things like that, that is something that maybe they're going to leave for later. The fact that they're bringing this in a 9.2.5 patch, because like a 0.5 patch is usually like selfie camera in Warlords of Draenor, cross-faction gameplay in a 0.5 patch is really unexpected. So what does that mean for things like 10.0 that could solve that problem of splintering you, because you want to get the benefits of the night elf racial, while your friend wants to play shaman, which means you can't really like actively communicate within the game. Maybe that's an outdated way of thinking about it, though, because you can just communicate on BattleNet, so it's possibly not going to be that big of a problem. But what's it going to mean for competitive endgame raiders, where certain specs might be better on certain factions and certain races, so that maybe 3 out of the 20 people in your Mythic raid want to be Alliance for the better racials, but then that means they can't be in your guild. I'm not sure if that will cause any problems potentially. I think the race to World First is going to be starting at 9.2, so by 9.2.5 that might not be a problem, and then maybe in 10.0 they'll have a solution to that at that point for cross-faction guilds between the two of them. We still don't know what the next expansion is going to be. Omega Lol Dragon Isles maybe, but I'm a bit worried about how that's going to splinter people in the initial terms of it with guilds and things like that. Was one concern, but I am happy that I'm going to have access to more players to play with. They'll have access to my group of players to play with. I think that a lot of people are probably going to be flooding over to different racials again, because maybe they were playing on Horde just because they're shaman friends. There's a lot of shamans on NA, and so they were playing the Horde racials because they needed to play with their shamans. Now they're probably all going to be going Alliance and Night Elf. I'm wondering if this means that they're going to be rebalancing. Are they going to be rebalancing any of the racials? Because at the moment, Night Elf, Human, and Orc, at least in PvP, are all dramatically better. In Mythic Plus, we see things like Night Elf used to completely negate pulls and mechanics with the Shadow Meld resets and things like that. Some racials have been dominating in the game as a whole, and I'm wondering if they plan to do anything about it. I know there's maybe a little bit of a downside to that as well, where it's like, I actually kind of like War Stomp. I kind of like Shadow Meld as these kind of unique spells. But when they're at the top 0.1% competitive end, some of them just have a distinct reason to have them there over another, and you feel like you're holding your team back or holding yourself back from your absolute potential by not having them. So it's a really tough thing to do. But by having the racials in the game, then that means that you can't make a cosmetic choice. You can't just be like, I want to play this because of the way that it looks. Maybe some people will play with the racials they want to play with regardless. I know there's a lot of fun ones. I know for me, like Void Elf, being able to send out that ghost and then teleport to it is a really fun one. The Kultiran with the Omega Lol Captain Falcon punch, knocking people really far away is a really fun one. I might even switch to that on my Druid in 9.2.5 and then dump a bunch of Star Surges into like this Omega Punch mode or something like that, now that I can play with everybody in the game. So I do think the pros outweigh the cons, but I think that this is something that they're going to have to continue to iterate on into the future. While this is great for people who just want to play on the end game and stuff like that, not splintering your guilds and stuff like that for people who want to play min-maxing and getting the most competitive edge and stuff like that is going to need cross-faction guilds in the future. But the fact that something like this is even happening is astounding to me. There was a lot of things that I was thinking never were going to happen with World of Warcraft, and this was probably on the top 3 of those things. So if this thing can happen, maybe anything can really happen. Maybe we can get some PvP set bonuses. Maybe we can get PvP progression systems that don't force players to engage in the daily quest repetitive grinds and stuff like that, because I know for the PvP community, at least from my point of view, I'm kind of done with it. I would really just rather focus on PvP as it used to be in previous expansions. Get an honor set, jump into arena, get a conquest set, then start pushing for some raiding and grinding up for some of those cosmetics. I feel like that was always the best mode of it. And this kind of overly excessive honor grind, you can see is so taxing to the point where they've made changes like in TBC to reduce the amount of marks required for pieces. They've increased the honor because I just feel like sitting there, like the South Park episode and farming 1 billion boars to get to max level is not at least what the PvP community would want. If I'm wrong about that, let me know in the chat down below. If you like farming 3 billion boars to be able to get your PvP set of gear from Korthia, then by all means let me know in the comments, because I don't want to be speaking for somebody who doesn't agree with me. But I think PvP players want to be able to just play on a more competitive level a little bit faster. If you see someone making some cool plays, jump in there, get it done, get it faster. And I'm just talking about this because if we're seeing changes like this, then maybe we can see some other changes as well moving forward and really have an amazing game. I feel like being an MMORPG, World of Warcraft can really take advantage of being an MMORPG, as well as allocating these end game competitive systems to players to create longevity for their game. Because a lot of MMORPGs hype train, everybody's stoked to level on them, let's progress all together, and then it loses steam as the distance between players becomes larger and larger, and the gap gets larger and larger, and then it slowly dwindles away, and you start to forget about it, right? And this has happened with pretty much every MMORPG that I've seen to date. And I think that the end game competitive modes afterwards are what kind of keep it surviving beyond that. So finding a way to harvest that initial MMORPG hype systems and progression, and then getting people equally onto these competitive formats to be able to push together and see what they can do with their limits within the game, I think is a goal that I would like to see aimed for in World of Warcraft. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you like these types of news and patch updates, then make sure you hit the subscribe button, because I do my best to bring them to you as soon as possible so you can stay in the know and now and enhance your experience with World of Warcraft. And I do stream every day at twitch.tv/Supatease. But other than that, thank you very much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.